Good afternoon. My name is Tumi Tladi. Today it's Sunday, 27th of June 2021. Time it's 17 minutes after 3 p.m. I'm quickly gonna launch two websites. So yes, I'm gonna first start with wrapping up the previous video or episode, which is number 20. Because this morning I left prematurely because I wanted to cover a lot, but I wasn't aware that the topic of registration on identical doc system is quite big, and I don't like to do things by the way. So good. Now firstly, we know that there's a register on this website targeting.net framework, because that's a version I start with. But this one of the .NET Core, in fact, I did not do a lot for register. In fact, I didn't do anything. This is a default template that you get for ASP.NET Core. So I want to say something about this. So you see, it's one of the things I want to cover. So I'm continuing on that video, because what we're about to do moving forward should make sense. We're still going to get to mobile application. Please be patient. We're still going to get to mobile application, but I have a new system right now that I'm going to do something on it after recording this session. That new system, I need to be able to build it while identifying the mistakes that the developers make, So I'm excited about the system. Now, Visual Studio this morning hang up. I don't know why, but that's a problematic. So just to recap, I'm using the same database that was created initially by this project, data access layer targeting.net framework, and there's also data access layer targeting.net core. And then I did communicate previously that during registration, because I intended to go through the register page. So let me just switch this to be a starter project so you can see where I'm currently focusing on. So Visual Studio, for some reason, it does this, not responding. It usually doesn't do this. I don't know why. Okay, but before we do that, I want to go to ASP.NET Core or ASP.NET MVC targeting.NET Core, and I'm going to show you something. Although there's an MVC version, there is also Razor Pages version. There's also Web API, I do have it version. But in MVC, when it comes to data, like data access layer or identity system, it's using Razor Pages. So with this being said, let's see something. If you go to areas, you see the folder called identity. You do not rename this folder, and you see pages. You see identity hosting startup. You can do your own research, but I want to focus on something. So basically, if you look at this guy, controllers, MVC, you see there's account controller and there's what we call a managed controller. What happens when you are authenticated? Like if I click this guy, I can do certain things, like you see account settings, I can change my password, I can do certain things. I believe that's the intention in Visual Studio. But the point is, this only addresses account operations, such as access denied, confirm email, forgot password confirmation, the login, logout, reset password confirmation. And you can see that I do not have register, because I remember having to stop in the middle of me doing this, but I know the login works and everything, and then I believe forgot password. We'll see that later on. It's just that this morning I wasn't aware that I do not have the register already being configured and set up. Yes, for lack of a better word. But it's one reason why, although this is in production, why you can still do this. It will work by default. Please don't do that. In fact, it won't work because this is very interesting. Let me go off the script just a bit. This is very interesting. Remember I said I'm using the same database, right? This database. And then both these web applications are targeting the same tables, especially this one for registration. I want to show you something from this project. If we go to data access layer for .NET Core, we go to identity, we go to application user, you see something interesting. In fact, let's do that right now. What happens if we try to register right now? So first I wanna test the validation. If I click register, there are validations in place. These are not my validations, but these are default validations. But I'm gonna type in something in a second. I wanna check if can you access this website right now. Can you register? You see this thing? I don't like this thing. Visual Studio. I'm gonna blame the most recent updated version of this IDE, to be honest. So this is what I wanted to show you. That look at line number 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, so forth. You see the same thing, which is required attribute. While this is still trying to figure itself out, let's do this. Let me go to TempMail, because the service I introduced this morning, TempMail.org. Yes, I used it this morning, and I like to put in the merged of the tabs. Okay. While that is loading, let me pour myself some cold drink. It's Sunday. Church was amazing. Lunch was amazing. That's why I had to leave, prematurely this morning. But I'm waiting for the email to be generated. It's a fantastic service. Please try it out. Okay, let's wait for it. So, let's see Visual Studio. Come on, Visual Studio. Whatever's happening behind the scenes. I know there's a massive IDE, but please. Also, I know that my computer, doesn't have required hardware, but please. This will prevent the restoration from just, going nuts. These required attributes, that one I'm sure, because then one of my favorite lecturers at CUT, Mr. Maya, he's always about defensive programming. I didn't know that this is defensive programming, stuff like this. They're part of defensive programming. So now you know this, but I can also prove it from the register page itself. Remember, I don't have the register configured here. But let's go to register. Everything about the register, we want to see something. In the meantime, do we have, why are you still loading? Stop. See, now Microsoft Edge is acting up. I need a unique email generated, or maybe the system that too many requests, I don't know. Okay, let's give that a second. Wow, this one also is validating breakpoint location. I saw this earlier on this morning when I was doing video number 20. I should remove these breakpoints because they cannot be contributing to making my code, or rather my IDE slow. Right, so there are some of the things that I want to mention during this registration. Copy this guy. So like I said, let's give this guy a test drive. So that one, seriously, paste. Okay, even if everything is good, let's see, register. It can't work. It can't work. See, it's redirecting back to register page. The page isn't working right now. But this is what I'm interested in. 400. This guy. It's what I'm interested in. Okay, because we're gonna go now focus on. Okay, we don't need this guy for now because it's useless. So VS, please work with me. Okay, so let's go quickly to register, and then there's something else that identified what I was setting up with this workstation. Okay, let me remove these breakpoints. Yo, VS, the way I'm so disappointed. I know this one for login. Let me just confirm that. I hope you can be patient with me. Listen, you don't have to like my you don't have to like my style, but if the content is exactly what you need, please, I'm asking you to be patient, okay? Yes, because I'm helping somebody here. My knowledge and experience is invaluable. It's too expensive. So this content might help somebody. So please be patient. I'm aware with my PC being slow, but like I said, I also need to blame this new IDE that I have upgraded. Okay. So that 400, it's because of this. Can we agree the model state is the one that triggers 400? I believe. Oh, it's 400. No, not found. It's 44. Yes, bed request. Yes, I believe this guy, bed request, he returns bed request, which is status code 400. Yes, let's check what happens in else. Something like that. But yeah. Okay, the very first thing that I said this morning, and I saw something that doesn't make sense. I said these guys are being populated, right? Please check video number 20. But here's a problem though with that. Let me look for that method. Populate the register with these. Yes, cool. This method, something is not right here. But let me go all the way up. If I go all the way up, I do have this global variable, private read-only, application DB context. It's a class that it's responsible to talk to, or responsible in talking to a database. I do have it, and this is, because this is me instantiating it, right? I only need access to this. But I realized something this morning when I was recording, that in fact I'm using the one from utilities class. So I'm trying to ask myself a question. Why didn't I just use this one at the top? I don't know if I'm making okay, sorry about that. But because I want us to go to that, I tried to do this by navigating, but I feel like navigating I have to go the long way. It's fine. I know my system because I built it. So basically what I do this. I get access to utilities to say give me. You see that I have this guy. Utilities dot application deep content. It's the same thing. So my question is, why did I do that? Why did I go to utilities? I know the sole purpose of this class called utilities. I know it, and I also know the purpose of this object being instantiated. I know it, but in this kind of context, why did I go that far? Please do not do this. This is not right. Unfortunately, I can't make the changes right now because I'm teaching, but these are the things I say, do not do this. This brings me to this question. What does it mean when we say the code has to be readable? Does it mean that it should make sense like this, class called utilities? Does it mean that the property has to be called genders? Does it mean that you have to do what I did, that if this is gonna be a viewback property of which is a dynamic property, that for me, I prefix it with viewback and then genders so that the view can make sense? Do we call this readability? But what if the code doesn't make sense? Like in this case, why do I do this? It doesn't make sense. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I realize, it's within the register. So I'll come back to this line, but I want to explain it right now. That if we log in, if we found the user, if we created the user successfully based on the object and then the password and then the result was success, why am I signing in this user? Why? And then later on I logged the user out. I knew why I was doing this. But why am I having this code? This one is necessary to send those email confirmation. We saw that this morning on video number 20. But why this one? Why this one? So these are the flaws. Another thing about this logout, this is a custom method. There is a default method, but this one is a custom. Okay, so there's a log off. No, wait. Which one did I create myself? No, yes, wait. this is the default one, right? I wanted one. Okay, no, sorry. This one's a default one. This one is a custom one. Sorry, the log off it's a custom one. That's where I'm using it. But why does it say 0 references? So it seems like I'm a liar now. I know that I'm the one that did this because usually, but it's log off and it's log out, so it cannot be. The method name is not the same, so the signature doesn't matter if it's different. Exactly what's happening here. Oh no, it's for sole purpose of this guy. Okay, yes, not for this, but for this, because if I start removing int value, it's gonna complain. So let's give it a second to complain. The red squiggle, there we go. See, it says it's already been defined. There's already the same with the same parameter. So okay. Now, okay, because then I return the view. Okay, I'll show this guy. It's a custom one. But why am I not using this guy? Why is there 0 references? No, in fact, I'm using it somewhere. I'll show you how, but I'm using it somewhere else. Okay, cool. So these are the things that I like to explain because I feel like they're unique, you know, they can help somebody. Also for me, because I have a new system, I need to know exactly what I did. But what I wanted to do, I want to go again in this method before I start a new session. Let's start with the validations. There we go. Please make sure that your system, you can validate every single input from the user. Like it says, the username field is required, title, initials, first name, last name. I want to do this. But what about gender? I'll come to gender, email, address. What about province? What about city? And then we have the password. So let me show you something. I'm not gonna, this is just the dummy data for these validations to go away, but I'll show you something. See, I also need to validate this. So let's come to gender. If I click register, oh, it skips. Okay, let's do this. Email, address. It doesn't matter, and then the password. It's not gonna go through. Don't worry. I just wanna remove these basic validation rules. So what about gender? What happens when you click? Check this. It knows about gender, so it's gonna pop up alert for warning because this is my custom validation. Let's give it a second. There we go. Warning, this user needs a gender, so please select one. That's what I did. So let's talk about the code. So it's the same thing with let me do this. It's the same thing with the province. Please disappear for now. If I do this, and then click register, the province is gonna cry also. Province, again the same warning, but it says this user needs a province. Please select one. You see, it knows now about the gender, but it's complaining about the province. Gauteng, and now there's a city. Okay, so how did I achieve that? Firstly, if the model state is valid, like a normal validations rules are passed, we're going to do our own validations. And you see, that's the first thing I do. So string gender ID. So I'm saying go to this register view model, and you see how I name my object, like my variable names out of my object, like my parameters. Yes, right? I don't just say model. Microsoft has this habit of leaving this thing to be model. I hate it. And then some developers have gravitated towards that laziness. If it's register view model, please rename it to be register view model for simplicity for people like us to maintain systems. Please stop being lazy. Because when we are deep inside the code, we should know, oh, this is register view model. Oh, that means I know I have a property called gender. There it is. So I'm saying now this is gonna come in as an ID. So I'm gonna store it as a string to say string ID. Then I have this var gender name assigned to nothing. And then I have if, but there's a method I want to get to. If will come to the if. Let's go to the method. The method is down here. It's part of helper methods. Okay, so I'm passing in something here. So let's go again and see what am I passing. I am passing this gender ID. Remember, it's a gender ID of type string. Although I know it's a GUID. Because remember, this guy, it's of type string. But I know that the gender that's coming in, it's a GUID. Huh? Yes, I believe so. Is it a GUID? Yes, it is a GUID. Yes, it is a GUID. Yes. Let me try to prove that. It's control what? Let's go to the view. Oh no. Let me do this. I forgot the shortcut. Right click. Go to view. Oh, MG. Okay. Yes, it's the ID that sits here. You see, we have mail, but behind the scenes there's actual ID. Like if you have used integer, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3. But if you're like me, you're using GUID, it's an actual GUID value. And then yeah, the key is gonna be the value, and then the key is gonna be the GUID. The value is gonna be mail. The key is gonna be GUID, the value is gonna be other. The key is gonna be GUID, the value is gonna be female. All this coming from database. So this is what I'm looking for. The view. Don't worry about the red squiggles, they will go away. So let's look for the gender. This is a gender. You see, I'm using drop down list for, okay, and I'm saying we're gonna use new select list, view back. You see, coming from view back genders. You see, there is a gender ID, which is the key, and gender name, which is the value. I'm done. I just want to show that. Okay, so now we know that we are passing in gender ID, although it's a string, but we know it's the GUID. Okay, so let's go back to that method again. I'm only gonna do this gender. So yes, we are receiving that string gender ID. So I'm gonna say bool, is this a problem? By default false, because it's returning a boolean. And I'm gonna say if the gender ID it's null, let's show that error message that you saw. And again, let's repopulate the register with these. And then I say, yes, this is going to be a problem. Other than that, if this guy is not null, no, it's not going to become a problem, and we're good to go. So this happens for gender, for province, the same syntax. I'm just changing what gets to be shown. This is why we love reusing the code, you know. But I should also, if Mr. Meyer were to pay attention to this, he would say, but you can still reuse the same method. Honestly, because I like to think how he would normally think that it does the same thing. Look at it. Let's do this. It practically does the same thing. I'm in the same variable name. Is it going to be a problem? I just need to change what comes in. And then I do something like a switch statement, or if it's gender, and then just write gender. If it's province, just put in province there or something. But it's practically the same thing. So this qualifies for code reusability. Things that we are learning. Interesting. So because this continues also for city, if the city is being selected, it's practically the same thing. Still calling the helper method alert warning number 6, because it deals with a specific message that gets to be populated, you know. So yeah, I wasn't even aware that this qualifies to be one method, you know, because it returns boolean. I just love to keep it clean, but it's up for debate because it's dry. It validates principle of do not repeat yourself, but you get the point. So that's how I get to validate these things, to say, let's check if the gender was selected. Other than that, it will say no gender selected. And then if we got the gender, so let's go and get the gender by gender ID, you know, that's how we do. That's what the purpose of that utilities class, you know. Province, the same thing. City, same thing. So we understand this guy. But the thing I wanted to stress was this guy. Again, I only touched it a bit. This is for .NET Core. And it does work. I'll show you right now in the database, actual database, those two newly users that we registered. And then yeah, we spoke about this, and then it's gonna go and say, and then it sends email confirmation. We need to take a look at that one. Other than that, all is good. please handle the exception. Make sure you do something constructive. Another thing while I'm here, before I go to this method, can we learn to use loggers? Like, I think I'm gonna integrate the logger in here. Once I do that successfully, I'll make a video, because this system, like, if there's gonna be any exception, we should know what kind of exception. This doesn't help. This communicates with the user that, hey, I'm gonna show you the exception, and I log the user out and I return the view back. But as a developers, we don't know if that exception actually occurred, and that's a problem. I think we should have loggers sending data directly to the database, if not an email, whichever preferred methodology that we use. Again, this is where developers are being lazy, including myself. But nevertheless, let me go to this one thing quickly. So we are passing in user ID and username to send that email that you saw this morning, and then this is how you do it. However, the identity system in this project, through user manager property, we saw it initialized in a constructor. They have these methods: generate email confirmation token. I don't have to do this. Microsoft identity system in MVC web applications, they do this. Even in .NET Core, I don't have to do this. This is the reason why you need to start now falling in love with programming, especially for web application, developing web applications, because when you have access to this, but you need to know how they're being used, and then don't worry about certain things. If they can provide this kind of flexibility, please make use of it. And also, you need to know how to get a hold of this send email. You have it, but it needs to be configured. We did a tour about that one when we did a Solution Explorer for this project. So that's where I showed you that you need to configure to have your email set up, because ultimately it's using this backend of email API. Ultimately, this is the guy that's responsible for sending the actual email. So unfortunately, I can't take in there because there might be some sensitive credentials. Okay, so the last thing I want to show is those two new users. Don't worry, I know I'm going to the actual database. It's not posing any security risk. Please don't worry about it. At any time, I can tear down this database and build from the ground up. It's easy. Please, I'm not exposing anything. As long as the passwords are encrypted and hashed, I don't even know what they are. So I'm not concerned about that. I'm not gonna look at these emails because they're weird. I want to look at the usernames. There we go. So this morning I reached these two accounts. I believe they are ones. YouTube_user and YouTube_admin. There they are. So data actually came through. Everything. See? Now I want to talk about something that we're gonna do today. Phone number. But I just want to show you something. And the stuff for .NET Core. Normalized username, normalized email, concurrency stamp, this guy. And this one didn't care about it because by now it's nullable. But these are needed for, and we'll prove this now, are needed for .NET Core. Okay, cool. So this was the wrap for first session. I just want to apologize for I had to leave. I thought I would cover a lot, but I don't like to do things by the way. And I promised, I'm gonna be raw. I'm gonna show you everything, and then I myself, I get to be surprised by certain things within the system. But it's also good because then I get to explain them. That's why I'm making these videos. Please, right now the content is good. I hope you're learning something. Please like this video, comment if you have any thoughts, and share your opinions. And then please subscribe and then recommend this to fellow developers. If you're new in IT, this is good stuff. That one I can promise you. So this was the first session. Let's go now to a second session. Now the second session, which is the purpose of this video, video number 21. I don't want this. I want to go to login because accounts have been registered. We've seen them. I want to use those two newly registered accounts. YouTube user. But I'm not going to focus on that mean. I'm going to use that mean somewhere else. Okay, so let me log in with a typical account. Okay, the one I know is registered on the system. It's called test1. Okay, I want you to see what happens when I click login. It's going to allow me to go through. And I'm going to log out and then I'll explain what just happened. You see, I am authenticated, and I'm gonna log out. Oh, by the way, this is a custom logout that I explained that it needs, see, log off, it needs own corresponding view. So this is a get, and if I click, this is a post, the one that will pop up the message here that successfully logged out. Yes, this one. Okay, but the new user, even if you can reach the account right now, it doesn't matter. The new user is YouTube underscore user. Let's have a password to be incorrect, and I'll show you that the account exists. So the password by default, it's wrong. I know it's wrong. So my system knows that, hey, we don't know this person. Either invalid username or password, right? But it knows that it's invalid. That means the account does exist. But let me enter a correct password. So the way I've engineered my system is that, hold up, because you're gonna become a business or a store owner, the clients or the customers or the visitors, let me just say customers or visitors, your customers or your visitors or your new visitors, they need to know who they're dealing with. So one way to authenticate your account is you need to have your phone number authenticated and verified. So this way now it redirects to add phone number, and then this is what we're going to talk about. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail for login. We're going to do login. It disappeared. We're going to do login some other time. Okay, but I'm only going to focus on a specific portion. How do we end up in this different controller called manage, in this view called add phone number? Does it make sense? So, but the user, like I said, has been kicked out. But let's see. Okay, so we're going to go to login, switching gears a bit. I don't need you. I still need you. Okay, let's go up. The login, I'm going to do it extensively. It's incredible, but I'm not going to get into it. I just want to show you something. Login, we don't care about this one, honestly. But I'm not focusing on this. So I do have these guys, which is the username and the password, right? I don't care about this. I want to focus on this guy. This guy. But I can only tell you that I have a try and catch block. I check if the model state is valid. If not, return the guy. Okay. And then I'm gonna say, now let's go. If everything's okay, they have given us username and password. Let's go and find this user by their username and their password, and we're gonna store the object here. It's application user. And then if it's not now, meaning we found them, let's check if they're being deleted. Like I said, I'm not gonna talk about this now. Let's check if they have their email confirmed. That's what happened this morning. But also let's check if the phone number is being confirmed. So if not, the phone number is confirmed, me passing in, if you can look at this, user ID, it returns a boolean. If they are not, we're now gonna get inside. It's gonna say, I'm gonna use added success, and then we'll show the message. I'll do it again so you can read the message, and then we're gonna redirect. So this is where I'm at. Okay, so let's do that again. Log again. YouTube underscore user, my super secret password, go. I want to read this guy. There we go. YouTube user, we just need you to do one more thing and we'll be done. That's what I'm showing, but it's a success. So there's a custom unique feature that I came up with to say, let's not allow anybody to get into the main system without going through this process. So, okay, see the beauty of having to reuse, to have a custom method and just reusing it multiple times. It's incredible. And then if you're new to MVC, this is how we get to redirect. And I'm saying, now let's return, but let's redirect. We're gonna redirect it to manage controller. And then, by the way, speaking of manage controller is because I'm gonna need it just now. Manage controller, it has authorized attribute. That means you cannot access it. It's secured. It's super secured. Okay, so We're gonna redirect to that controller. We're gonna go to this specific action method called add phone number, and then we're gonna pass this anonymous types values. Yes, for user ID we're gonna pass in the ID from this user object, which is application user, and then we're gonna say first time user, it should be true. Now a thing that's wrong is having to use capital user, U, capital I, capital F, capital T, and capital U. It's not right, because for search engine this is not right. You see, it's lowercase m, lowercase, you see this is lowercase, but the moment I know this is not right. They should all be lower cases. So this is the ID for that user, and then this I'm saying for first time the value is true, but I'm saying this should be lower case. Please do that and you'll be good to go. So right now I'm being redirected but anonymously. So now we understand what's happening. So we are done with the login, right? We'll do this thing extensively later on, maybe tomorrow. So manage also, I will cover it extensively, but now I just want to go to add phone number. There we go. So I'm going to focus on these two action methods. These two. The very first one is of type get. So I allow anonymous. Please be careful about which action method or which controller do you allow anonymous. Please be careful. And then this one, if you look at it, before I can return the view, I'm doing something. So this is where I get to receive to say, hey, this guy expects user ID before he can show the the page. He expects the user ID, and then he expects if the first time is true or false. And if you look at that, I had to be smart enough to store those guys using viewback dynamic properties. You see my naming convention? Told you that I'm a smart genius programmer. I don't just write user ID, it's gonna confuse me. So I need to know that this is, yes, viewback first time user. So true or false, in this case true, is gonna go there and then return the view. And this is what we get to see. This is the first part of it. And then I would like to go to a corresponding view. Now I know the shortcut because I had forgotten the shortcut. Good. So it has its own corresponding view model, add phone number view model. It's a page that has loaded. Oh, by the way, I do have two separate divs. This one's for larger device, this one's for smaller device. You see, I'm a guy that's after responsiveness, but it's a topic for another day. But they probably do the same thing, except there's a difference there and there. So the very first thing I do is that, okay, let's go and capture whatever that was in this dynamic property called the viewback user ID. We're gonna save it here. Whatever value that was on this dynamic property called viewback first time, we're gonna save it here. Right? When we do what? When we submit, which is from method post, when we submit. But it also does have its own validations, and that's a very interesting thing. What happens if I click this guy? What's going to happen to this URL? This is a very interesting thing. Let's take this for a test drive. Submit. Oh, okay. The phone number field is required. Good to know that this doesn't change because I'm using Ajax. It's a JavaScript validation. Yeah, jQuery validation. Yeah. Just know it's using that. Okay, let me not be lazy. It's using jQuery validation. Yes. So that's how. Yeah, cool. But I want to see because then I get to test my system. Now what happens if you click this? Because this guy gets to be messed up. I have another question. I'm gonna copy this. Copy. I'm gonna paste it here, but before I click enter, I'm gonna remove the second part. And I'm gonna hit enter. What's gonna happen? There we go. Good. Good. Because it doesn't know anything about this view. Add phone number having to accept one parameter. It doesn't know anything about this. I like to know that my system is good. Big up to myself. Right. We were not here. Okay. So phone number. I'm gonna use my iPhone's phone number Okay, because I have two phones. And then, but before we do that, now let's prepare ourselves for the get. So manage controller. No, not get post. Again, I'm allowing anonymous HTTP post to validate and the forgery token. See, even with this one, I'm still expecting. Oh, by the way, what's in this view model? It's only two things. Oh, three things. Oh no, one thing, which is number. Just give me that number. You see, I have a required attribute and it's of type phone, and I have this display, but it's one property. Good. And please make sure that you secure your properties with the required attribute. Interesting. So the model state, it will return this guy with an error message. We know this guy if it's not correct. But then again, I do something interesting. I did this later on. I love the way I code and I program. Interesting. This is the last part and it will be done. Okay. Let me go enter the number that I know for sure it exists. 0514290389. This is my correct cell phone number. Please don't call me. I have a girlfriend. I'm gonna remove this 0 and I'm gonna hit submit. Check what's gonna happen. There we go. It says we have an issue. The phone number, this one, should start with a 0. I don't know if you can see. It should start with a 0. And then it's good to know that the URL or URI, whatever this thing is, it stays the same thing. Okay, because sometimes I said this guy gets to be messed up. I think in my case, because I'm using the view bag, you know, I think it's able to persist that yeah, something like that. But you should be careful because we've done this thing multiple times that this guy now gets to be resetted, and that's not good. Okay, it's because I said if the number starts with a 0, but if not, if it doesn't start with 0, aha, yes, exactly, I was right. If the number doesn't start with 0, that means it's a problem. I'm gonna show using alert warning number 4 this error message to say, hey, this number, no, it should start with 0. But look at what I do. The same user ID that came through, I'm gonna pass it back to view back user ID. The same value for first time user, I'm gonna take it back to this view back first time user, because I've tested this thing extensively and then it has gave me too many turnarounds. Good. So now I'm there that this is working perfectly. Good. Now the second thing is that if the length is not 10, it doesn't matter, because but first it should start with 0. Not contain, starts with 0. So let me do this guy 0, but let me remove 9. So it's 9 characters. Submit. Check again this guy. Again it says issue the phone number. This guy, you see, there's no 9, but the 0 should be 10 characters, and it still keeps this guy or persists, you know, the values on of the URL or URI. Good, because I handled if the length is not 10, again let's do the same thing, and then warning number 5. Good. But what happens if it starts with 0 and the total length of the phone number is 10? Okay, so this is where now we skip these checks, but this is important to have these checks. The most important check is this one. The most critical check is this one. Good. Now, here we're gonna do to say, this is something interesting. But I'm gonna do a second video. I'll do the video tomorrow for this one. We only wanna stop because it's gonna redirect somewhere else if it's success. Right, so I have this var user ID. You see there's underscore at the end. There's a reason why. And I'm gonna say the user ID that comes in, if it's null, go and get the one that's logged in. Please pay attention to this. If the value of what comes here, it's null, go and get the one that of the user that's currently logged in. Other than that, go and get the one that comes from here. Remember, this guy says both purposes. It's possible that this guy said they may be nullable. It's possible, but not this guy should be nullable, because I'm not validating these two guys. Am I making sense? It's possible that these guys might come in with null, like nullable values. This is null and this is going to be false by default. Hence, I'm only checking for this guy to say if the user ID, this will be the case of test1 having to have logged in, and then this will carry null. But in this case, YouTube user, it's not going to be null because there's going to be value here, right? And we've been proving this thing. So I'm saying if it's null, go and get the one that's currently, from the identity system, from logged in user. Other than that, go and get that one. Okay, cool. Generate the token, send it. var code. Again, having access to user manager to say generate change phone number token async. Here's the user ID. Either they came in as a first time users or not. The user ID is going to be here, either way. And then for this number. And we're going to prove this thing now. And then if the user manager, the service, SMS service, it's not null, that means we have the ability to reconfigure this thing, then please let's send them an SMS. They will say your security code is this, and then this will be the code. And then we're gonna send the message afterwards, and then there will be alert success number 2, and then it's gonna redirect. Does it make sense? I'm about to do this and then we'll be done. So you're gonna hear my phone. My phone is not on silent. Yes, you're gonna hear my phone with the funny iPhone tone for SMSs. And then I'm gonna talk about this guy, and I'm gonna do another brief session about a unique service called bulk SMS. It's responsible for sending SMSs. I have the custom code for it, but I'll show it tomorrow. Called backend of SMS API. For this to work, for it to actually send, we did this. For this to actually send, it's making use of this class. And then when I was doing Solution Explorer for ASP.NET MVC, please check the previous video. You noted that I was in app start and then I went to identity config. That's where I know it's been configured. And for SMS, here it is. So I know exactly what I'm talking about because it's using this SMS service from the class SMS service, and then you see that there's send async. Getting access to user manager SMS service, making sure that we have access to send async. Cool. Now let's do that and I'll be done. So my number, I just need to put in 9 here. Cool. Submit. Good. It says we've sent the verification code to. There we go. That's my service there, and I'll talk about it. But I'm gonna come somewhere else. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Remember, this guy, we did not refresh this. We did not refresh this because look at the phone number. They're both null for a normal user for YouTube and admin for YouTube, and these are the same accounts that they are. But I'm gonna refresh this guy and then I'm gonna highlight them again. Refresh, let me be ready. Give it a second. The first one is gonna change. It's gonna have a phone number, my cell phone number. There we go. Wait. Oh, I know why. Because we haven't verified the phone number. Oh, okay, I'm still learning. This is where now this video, please wait for this video. I'll make it tomorrow. This one, having to verify. So right now I received an SMS. It says, hello, your security code is 020419 for identical dogs website and will expire in 5 minutes. I'll show this SMS tomorrow when I do external service called bulk SMS. It's a service I've used to do this, and then yeah, it's gonna be perfect. And then we'll talk about this URL that now has changed. So in a nutshell, this is what I had today. It was a fun thing, should I say, it was a fun time exploring this, understanding these concepts and everything. You see, I'm still learning, but I know what I built for sure. Because you can't just say, oh, this is a phone number, but we need to know if you can verify the phone number. And then how do you set this thing out of timeout? So I'll do a video about it tomorrow. Firstly, we'll talk about the bulk SMS. Yeah, that's a topic for tomorrow, and how this guy got to be set up. Hey, shut up. And how this guy was I managed to set up. And then that I have another project. It's SP.NET Web API. Let me just do this. Let me just tease you. It's SMS API dot identical docs.co.za. So this is .NET Core Web API. So you're not meant to know about it, yes, but it is the .NET Core version where, yeah, this is all it does. Don't worry about it, but it does have some stuff behind the scenes. So it handles. I need to remove this guy. I can't do it live because there are some sensitivity of passwords and everything. I need to remove them from this guy, but we'll explain. But I need to remove this class. I can also do backend for email API, so that I use one service like this, which is this guy, and I not just connect it to this URL and to send SMSes, as opposed to having to configure these things, you know, independently, because they do have the passwords accompanying them. So yeah, that's the direction I'm gonna go, you know, to make sure the system is becoming robust. But this we'll talk about it tomorrow when I make a video number 22. But for now, yeah, I think I'm done. It was fun, but I'm not gonna close this, guys. This one I know is gonna disappear, but I'm gonna keep all these tabs open. And then yeah, please stay tuned for that. And like I said, the content on this YouTube, it's fantastic. Please tell your friends, it's fantastic. Please take time to watch these videos. You can watch 10 minutes at a time, but please watch these videos. They will help you. This is how I built my system. It's not just fancy on the UI. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. Thank you.